The ring just shut down on me. I'll try it again some other time. I guess we're just gonna watch some YouTube. Some shorts. Let's do it. Plug my controller. Let's do it, dude. Ooh. Ooh. Should I turn the lights on or off?
You always hear a lot of weird stories about Walmarts. At least, I always have. People are always complaining about how the stores are creepy, or they saw some crazy person inside of one. I never experienced anything like that, though. I never really used to shop at Walmart that much anyways. Just every now and then when it was convenient. That all changed, though. After that night, I've never gone back to a Walmart again. It started when I got off work one night to find that it was raining pretty hard outside. I hated driving in the rain, so I was pretty annoyed by it, especially because I'd been planning on buying some last-minute groceries after work. I was hosting a girls' night, and I still needed a couple of things. I decided that I would just stop off at a Walmart close by and grab the stuff. I didn't want to drive any further than I had to. When I got to the Walmart, I tried to find a parking space close to the front, but of course they were all full. I had to park a good ways away from the building and walk through the rain to get inside. As I approached the Walmart door and tried to shield myself from getting too wet, something crazy happened. Out of nowhere, I saw a woman come screaming and running out of the store like a psycho. I stopped and watched as the woman ran off into the parking lot, still screaming as she went. It was incredibly unsettling to hear someone in that much distress. For a moment, I contemplated going inside. I wondered if there could actually be something horrible. After a few seconds, I decided that the woman was probably just crazy. I had just experienced my own weird Walmart story to share with my friends later on. The thought reassured me and I headed inside. I grabbed a shopping cart from the front and quickly headed over to the grocery section. I only needed a few things, but I still wanted to hurry to make sure I got home in time. While in one of the aisles, I suddenly felt something wet dripping on me.
What the hell?
I wiped it off immediately, confused. Whatever it wasn't water. I figured it was probably just rain mixed with nasty ceiling mold or something. I looked up to see if I could find where it came from, but I didn't notice anything. I assumed it must have just leaked from a hole or a crack in the ceiling. It was probably just best to ignore it and move on. So I picked up the item that I had been looking for and headed to the next aisle. I was just trying to figure out what kind of chips I wanted, when the same thing happened again. I felt some...
You been smoking that Zod, bro? You look like they've been smoking Zod. They've been huffing that pack.
Wet drip on my head. I wiped it off and
Why does it sound like that, bro?
Noticed that it was a much larger amount of the wet substance this time. It was really gross. I still had no idea what it was either, but I was getting pretty weirded out at the idea that something was dripping on me from multiple different places in the store. It didn't seem very likely. After I finished wiping the stuff off, I moved to the next aisle and continued shopping. Several minutes went by, and then once again, a substance dripped on me.
Okay, what the hell is going on?
Just get out the store,
I was pretty annoyed
bro.
by that point.
Just
What
get out
were the
store at
odds that
that
something
point,
had
bro.
dripped on my head 3 different times? I frustratedly started wiping it off as I looked up and tried to figure out where it could be coming from. I still didn't see any sign of a hole in the ceiling or anything like that. As I wiped the stuff, I looked closer and realized that it was some sort of white substance. It couldn't have been rain or mold. I still didn't know what it was though. It smelled absolutely disgusting, like piss or something. The more of it that I wiped off, the more I got grossed out. There was quite a bit of it on me this time. It had even dripped off of my head onto my shirt. After several minutes of wiping, I finally got it all off of me and decided that I would get the hell out of there before any more of it could get on me. As I turned around, I happened to look up at the top of the aisle shelf, only to see the creepiest man that I'd ever seen staring back at me with a crazed smile on his face.
Brother, is that Nick at 30? Bro, Nick at 30 is a psychopath now. You want to get EpiPen, bro?
Then, To my horror, I watched as the crazy-ass guy squirted a tube of white substance directly at me. I was immediately covered in it. It was disgusting. I continued to scream as I ran to the front and begged the Walmart staff to help me.
Please, you have to help me. There's a man squirting stuff at me in the aisles. He's insane.
At first, the staff thought I was the crazy one, but I eventually got them to believe me and they sent security to find the man. He was detained after they caught him in another aisle trying to squirt the same substance on a different woman. I got a good look at the man as security dragged him back to the front. He was so creepy looking. As they brought him past me, he looked at me again with that same crazed smile. Come on, you know you wanted it. The police later came and arrested the man. He was identified as a man named Timothy, who was notorious for harassing women around the area and for squirting his bodily fluid on women around.
No! Oh my God!
Walmart. I now know why that woman had come running out of the store like that. I've been traumatized by the whole ordeal ever since. I still can't get over the fact that he did that to me 4 times. I don't even know what would have happened if I hadn't caught him. I haven't been to Walmart again though, just in case there are more out there like him. This story was inspired by one of the most disturbing Walmart incidents that occurred around 2017. A 28-year-old man named Timothy Blake was arrested for allegedly filling syringes with his own bodily fluid.
Alright, bro, yep, we're done. No, bro. Yeah, we're doing a different one, bro. We're doing a different one. It's supposed to be a horror short, but not a freak short, bro. What? Let's watch this one.
Time to help people customize and save with Liberty Mutual. Forgot my wallet.
Supercharge your business with the all-new Shopify point of sale, the all-in-one POS solution.
I have always been a huge fan of horror movies.
Right.
This story is out of that time when the movie Paranormal Activities came to theaters. I went to watch the movie with 2 of my friends, James and Andy. Needless to say, we were thrilled after watching this movie. The concept of moving into a house and witnessing supernatural occurrences gave us an adrenaline rush. One evening, Andy and I went to James's house for a sleepover. We were chilling in James's room. James started to talk about some articles he read online that has claimed haunted houses do exist. I was sitting near his bedroom window and smoking when Andy said, "Chris, give me a drag." I passed the cigarette to him and said, "I have also read such articles. I wish we could visit a haunted house." Andy exhaled smoke out of the window and replied, "Who says you can't?" and started smiling with mysterious eyes.
Bro, what's
James
up
said in a surprised voice,
got, dude?
"What do you mean?"
That's horrible.
Andy turned to us and said,
What would y'all do if y'all just seen your homeboy staring at you like that, bro? Especially with that haircut. Who has blue eyebrows and blue hair? I'm not trying to disrespect anybody with it, I'm just saying. I ain't never seen nobody with that.
"There is a house residing near Crystal Lake. It's a half-an-hour drive from our town. People say that house is haunted." James scratches his head and said, "Oh, you mean the Millard house?" I was clueless about this place completely, so I interrupted their conversation and said, "What house? Who's Millard?" James immediately got up from his bed and switched on his laptop. He surfed a few minutes and then said, "Yes, I was right. I read about this place. This house has a very horrifying history. Years ago, a man named William Millard lived there. He had a beautiful daughter, but that man was very strict and hardly let his daughter go out of the house. One day, he found out that the daughter was having an affair with their mailman. Mr. Millard got so angry that he lost his senses and pushed his daughter down the stairs. The daughter broke her back and could never walk like a human. Some say she crawled around the entire house at night like a dog. A week after this incident, passerbys called the cops complaining about a rancid smell coming from the house. As the cops entered the house, they discovered Mr. Millard's dead body near the stairs. He fell from the stairs and broke his neck. They found the daughter dead on her bed. I smirked and said, "What is so
bro? They found the door. They found the daughter dead, laying on the bed. Bars, G.
Horrifying about that. The daughter probably took revenge on her father and later killed herself too. James looked at me with wide eyes and said, as per the forensic report, the daughter died on 20th March, 1 p.m. in the afternoon on her bed. And Mr. Millard's time of death? Pronounced 20th March, 1 a.m. at night. There was no sign of forced entry into the house. So yeah, people say the daughter's angry spirit killed her father. Andy said, "Want to check out the place?" What say? James and I agreed to him and we decided to go to Crystal Lake that weekend. I took my brother's car and we left one Saturday evening. We wanted to feel the chills, so we chose to go after dark. I will forever regret this decision. Andy was right. It took us 30 to 35 minutes to reach there. The place Crystal Lake was an appropriate name as the lake water was reflecting the entire starry night sky like a mirror. We parked our car near the lake. It was a full moon night. The moonlight was flooding all over the place. The Millard house was standing like a giant on the other side of the lake. We didn't know that to reach the house, we have to cross the lake. Luckily, there were 2 small boats tied to the wooden platform of the lake. The ambiance around us was looking very spooky. Due to the vast open area, we could hear each and every sound. The crickets chirping, the hollow wind passing by, and the churning water waves in the lake. James locked his car and we got onto a boat. James and I started to paddle the boat while Andy fixed our flashlight. When we reached the opposite side of the lake, the house appeared way scarier than it did before. The broken windows were hanging as if they would fall at any moment. Weeds have grown all over the walls of the house. There was no sign of light coming from the house. We stepped on the house porch and pushed the main door. The main door opened with a loud creaking noise, signifying no human being entered here in decades. Andy flashed the light inside, and almost a colony of bats flew overhead, scaring the shit out of us. I said in a tensed voice, "Guys, are you all sure about this?" Andy replied, "Come on now, stop being a kid." James and Andy got inside, and I had to follow them. The entire house was in darkness. The only source of light was our one flashlight and the pale moonlight coming out of the broken window. We realized we are standing in the living room of the house and noticed a huge stairway lying in the middle of the room. James said in a low voice, "This is the stairway from where Mr. Millard fell down and died, breaking his neck." Cobwebs and dust were surrounding all over the house. I even saw a few bats hanging from the ceiling of the house. Andy flashed his light towards the left corner and said in a mocking voice, "Check this out, guys." We saw a painting hanging on the left corner wall. We went there and saw an oil painting featuring an old man with an angry-looking face standing near a fireplace. And just beside him, a girl aged around 17 to 18 years.
I hate how they're saying there's a man and there's a woman. Like, they don't know who they are. Like, just say their name, bro.
Sitting
That's
on a
William
chair.
something.
This must be Mr. Millard and his daughter,
Whatever.
said James. The girl was actually good-looking, but even in that picture, one could easily tell how extremely sad she was. It felt like tears will roll down her eyes any minute. Andy said in a sarcastic tone, "If I have her, I would have to keep her away too." I was getting really annoyed with his disgusting jokes. I said, "You should not say things like that. It's very disrespectful, man. Think about all the tortures she has gone through." Andy shrugged his shoulders and replied, "Yeah, whatever," and started to walk towards the staircase.
This dude dies, bro.
James said, "Where are you going?" He replied, "Let's see the daughter's room. We have come so far not to roam around the house for a while. It's anyways obvious there's no ghost here." James started following him too. I turned around to go with him too, but just then, I felt like I heard a giggling sound. I stopped and said, "Guys, did you hear that?" James said, "Hear what, Chris?" Before I could tell what I just experienced, I heard Andy say from upstairs, "Come on now, enough with your girly tantrums." I felt very insulted and decided not to speak a word to Andy. As I walked upstairs, I heard the wooden stairs creaking with the pressure of my feet. After reaching upstairs, I saw James and Andy standing in front of a closed door. I asked,
"Bro, that door's
"What's
halfway
wrong?"
broken, bro. Just
James
kick it down."
replied while turning the doorknob, "I think the door is jammed. It's not opening."
And kick it down,
Andy
but
told,
the door got cracks in it
"Hold the
anyway.
light. Let me try." Andy tried really hard but couldn't
Bro, we
open
just
the
need
door.
9 more
We were standing there in front of the closed door and thinking about what to do next just when we heard a giggling sound. Everyone got shocked by the sudden sound. I said in a panicked voice, "James, I've heard this sound downstairs. I think we should leave now. We had enough, guys." Andy flashed the light all over, but we couldn't see anyone. Then he said in a curious voice, "Maybe the sound is coming from this room."
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know if you will believe me or not, but suddenly, the doorknob clicked on its own and the door opened.
And that's
we immediately looked at the room. It was an old, dusty room. There was a small, torn-out, dirty bed lying in the middle. The pale moonlight coming from the window made the room quite visible to our eyes.
It's 10:09, bro.
We were about to step into the room when we heard the giggling sound again. It was the sound of subdued laughter of a female voice. The hair at the back of my neck stood up. I said in a whispering voice, "Guys, let's go." Suddenly, James pointed out on the side of the bed facing the window and said in a scared voice, "What? What is that, Andy?" I felt as if a dog-like creature was sitting near the window, but it was too dark for us to see things clearly. Andy pointed the flashlight into that direction, and our blood turned cold. There was a girl on the ground near the window. She was standing like a frog.
Man, this got me looking back, bro.
She was facing the ground. For a moment, none of us could utter a single word. It was as if all of our hearts stopped the very moment, and we can't move anymore. The girl lifted her face, and the flashlight started to flicker. We couldn't see her face clearly due to the flickering, but then the light kept switching on and off for no reason. And with every flash of light, we could see the girl's vicious face with changing expression. With the first flash, we saw her sad face. With the second flash, we saw a huge ear-to-ear smile on her face. With the third flash, we saw her expressionless face with wide white eyes as if she can see through us. We were so shocked that we almost forgot to run. Just then, the girl made the same spine-chilling giggle and started to crawl towards us vigorously.
Why is it crawling like that, bro?
Like a hungry demon.
But look how it's crawling,
we all finally got our senses back and started to run for our lives. James and I were in front, and Andy was running behind us.
Oh, yeah,
James kept saying, "Run, run!" Andy was screaming like a 10-year-old saying, "Don't leave me here! Please! She is behind me!" We reached the main door and turned around for Andy. We saw Andy was almost halfway on the stairs, and the girl was crawling behind him, following him like an animal. Somehow, we all managed to get out of the house and jump in the boat. Andy dropped the flashlight on the lake in a fit of fear. James and I started paddling like maniacs. Andy was sitting on the boat, facing his back at the house. He got so freaked out that he kept saying, "I can still hear her evil laughter. Paddle faster, faster." James and I realized that he has gone into shock, because as far as our eyes went, there was no one in front of the house. James said in a low, panting voice, "Maybe she can't leave the house." I didn't say anything, just kept paddling. I still don't know how we managed to return home that night, but ever since this incident, news about any haunted place makes me sweat.
You got me looking back, bro.
We know you're hovering over that button, but we need your help. We have a better button, we promise. Right on time.
War of Tanks or whatever the game's called, bro. Story 2.
This happened 19 years ago, and it sure as hell was the most frightening and tragic event that has and will certainly continue to mark me till the rest of my days. I just want to preface this by also telling you that if you're easily disturbed, this story isn't for you. But anyway, on with the story. It was the evening of January the 13th, 2001, and I was at a ski colony with two of my good childhood friends, Josh and Mark. In the colony, we were roughly about 40 kids, ranging anywhere from 8 to 16 years old, and we stayed in a giant hotel for about 2 weeks.
I don't like hotels
Josh,
like that.
Mark,
That scares me
and
a lot.
I were all 14 years old, and this was our first time ever on a ski colony together.
Oh, they're at
we
a
were all
ski.
more or less troublemakers
never mind then. That makes
and like
sense.
to get into dangerous
That makes sense.
situations.
Never mind.
But what I'm about to tell
I used to
you
be
was
in
a
one of them.
consequence of us going too far.
I used to be in one of them.
It was the
I didn't
second
know it
week
was
of
a
the
ski
trip,
colony, but I used to
and
be in
skiing
one
the
of them.
same slopes got
It
a
was a
little
whole bunch of snow
repetitive.
back then.
We were getting bored of skiing at the ski park
somebody
as well,
taught me how to-
so we
how to
decided
ski.
to do some off-slope exploring. Meaning, instead of skiing on the slopes, we go off to the side and into the forest while still keeping sight.
Look at that jawline, just like mine, bro. Just like mine, bro. He's copying me.
Of the skiing tracks. One day, we were with our assigned group, which consists of about 8 kids. We were skiing at the very top area of the mountain.
Major
and
bow-legged,
that's when we decided to go off track. We had ventured our way down, and Mark said he would keep an eye on the track next to us. We all ski extremely fast, and for some reason, Mark wanted to compete on who could be the fastest without hitting any trees. I accepted, and all 3 of us went down even faster this time. It was now getting even steeper, and I was a little ahead than the 2 of them. That's when we all rapidly approached some sort of cliff that I had fallen down from. I assumed none of us saw it, because we all sort of made the jump. As soon as I hit the floor though, I stopped and looked behind me to see if everyone landed safely, because it wasn't a small jump to make. I saw Josh land right next to me, and he was fine, but Mark landed pretty harshly and sort of lost balance. Josh and I go up to him to check if he's okay, and that's when we realized we lost the track. Josh proposed the idea that we go back up, but it was impossible. It was too steep, and anyone who skis knows it takes significant time and effort to walk up a steep mountain in the snow while carrying skis. And besides, the cliff behind us was too tall to climb. We decided to just keep going down, and while we were doing so, turn to the right side. We go down slowly this time and keep turning to the right, but unfortunately, there's just more of the same forested area. We figure out it's hopeless and stop a second time to make out a plan.
How you doing?
Mark loses all hope, and we all more or less tell him that it's okay.
How you doing?
But it was now slowly getting dark, and kind of came to the terrifying conclusion that we were lost. At this point, we spent a good hour sitting down and talking, and it was seriously getting cold for all of us. We all make up our minds to just keep sliding down, because it would at some point lead us to civilization. And besides, we had no choice but to go down. As we slide down, it's getting increasingly darker, to the point where we barely make out what's in front of us. That's when Josh spots out a light in the far distance to the left. As we get closer to it, we realize it's a small, sketchy-looking wooden cabin. We knock on the front door, and as soon as we do, we hear a woman screaming from inside.
And that's when you ski down even more.
We all look at each other in shock. After a couple of seconds,
somebody's getting murdered,
we hear a loud bang and the screaming abruptly stops. Mark backs off and tells us, maybe this isn't a good idea. To be honest, we were all freaked out and kind of startled, backing away from the door. As soon as we did though, we heard a male voice cussing very loudly. Then, about 20 seconds after, someone opened the door. At this point, we were about 15 feet away from the door. And sprinting towards us were 2 enraged Rottweiler dogs. We immediately started running away. The dogs eventually caught up to Mark and Josh, while I somehow made it behind a bush, a little far off into the forest. I waited there for about 5 minutes, trying to catch my breath. All of a sudden, I noticed some light coming from about 100 feet in the clearing. I peeked up and saw the man walking towards me, seemingly following my footsteps. I decide there's no other way for me not to get killed besides quietly walking around the forest in a circle and slowly make my way back to the house. So I quietly shifted back to the side of the bush from where he couldn't see me. I somehow make it inside the house and immediately try to find a phone. Luckily, I find a phone on the kitchen counter and call the cops. I briefly tell them I'm in grave danger and that they should track the location of the phone I'm calling from.
They should.
I then proceed to go upstairs to find somewhere to hide. I notice there's an attic ladder brought down, so I climb up. As soon as I do, I get hit with a strong smell, like something rotting. For some reason, the light is on and I look around for a good hiding spot. That's when in the far corner of the attic, I first noticed a group of flies lying around. Then I see it. It was a dead corpse. It appeared to be a woman.
Dang, bro, she
with
just
her face
died.
brutally beat up.
She already got flies surrounding her, bro.
Before I have any time to process,
guess she stank
I
before
suddenly
she
hear
died.
the front door close shut. I quickly hide behind a shelf and hear the guy yelling something along the lines of, "I know where you're hiding, you sneaky f***."
Alright, bro.
I then notice there's a window right
There's a window. Break it and run.
behind me. Fortunately, it was a window built in the slanted roof,
Break it and run.
meaning I could make it on the top of the roof.
Stop explaining. Break it and run.
I open it, push off the snow, and somehow shove myself through and make it onto the roof, closing the window in the process. A couple of minutes later, I hear the shelf underneath me crash down and the guy cussing. I also hear a helicopter coming from a distance. As soon as I sigh in relief though, I suddenly see the window opening. That's when I remembered I must have put some snow on the attic floor by climbing onto the roof. I quickly keep it shut by standing on it. The lights of the helicopter shine on me, and I see it's now directly above me, with a rope being thrown down. I grab the rope, and right as I do, some object hits my feet, shattering the glass of the window. This guy broke the window. He tries grabbing for my feet, but I'm just out of reach as I climb up the rope and the helicopter goes back up. I don't want to bore you too much with the details of the aftermath, but Josh was severely bruised, but managed to kill the dog he was fighting with. But Mark unfortunately ended up being paraplegic from the dog chewing his legs while he was knocked unconscious from hitting his head on a tree.
Dang,
The guy
bro.
trying to kill us allegedly killed his own wife and had a life sentence to prison. We never made it back to see anyone from that colony, though we damn well learned to follow the most simple rules from that day on.
Third one.
This is a horrible experience that happened during the 2020 quarantine. I went on a solo trip to Japan and got stuck there amidst the coronavirus outbreak. Luckily, I met a guy on my hiking program and became friends with him. His name was Hiroshi. Hiroshi was born and brought up in Japan. He lived with his parents in a small township of Japan. I was completely helpless, as all the flights were postponed, declaring a lockdown all around the world. Hiroshi invited me to stay with his family until the airports became active again. I must say, people in Japan are very close to nature. The way their houses were built in villages suffices that they love being in nature. Hiroshi's house was exactly like that. It was a small 2-storied wooden house. Hiroshi shared his room with me. His mother made an extra bed on the wooden floor. They were some of the nicest people I have ever met in life. One morning, I was having breakfast with them when Hiroshi's father came home with a sad face. Now, let me tell you that Hiroshi's village is quite far from the urban area, so the effect of the pandemic was mild there. Seeing his father's upset face, Hiroshi asked, "What happened, Papa?" His father replied in a sad tone, "Another suicide has been reported in Aokigahara. Local people are saying it was a woman in her late 30s. God knows how many lives will this forest take." I wasn't aware of the topic of this conversation, so I kept staring at them blankly. After breakfast, Hiroshi and I went for a walk around the village. I asked him, "What is Aokigahara?" Hiroshi said, "It's a forest nearby our village. People often call it the suicide forest." I had no idea.
I got this camera, bro. Even though I already got one. You like it? Hold on, let me open this junk for you. Let's get this baby out so I can show y'all what this junk look like. This can't be better than my camera, though. This might be better than my camera, though. This might be better than my camera. Hold on, let me scoot this over. Let me see. It just might be better than my camera. Should I test it out? I'm gonna test it out. I'm gonna test this camera out. Let's see what this camera's about. Can I have it? Can I have it? Can I have it? Can I have it? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Come on. Thank you. Come on. Thank you. Let's try this camera out. See what this camera's working with, bro. I wonder if this camera's better than my camera. See, this is what my camera look like. I'm finna turn it. That's what my camera look like. Let's go see what the other one. Let's go see what this one look like. Oh yeah, let's see what this one's about, bro. Let's see what this one's about. Let's see if I can get under my table. Ooh, let's see if I can find it. So is it this card? No, it's this one. Out for now. I bet. Hold on, check. I'm gonna try out this camera. See if this camera's even. See if this camera is better. Finish scoot this over here, so. Boo. New camera, check, new camera, check. A new camera, check, a new camera. Dang, bro. I bet we got a new camera. We got the new camera set. Hold on. I gotta go to my settings. Ooh. Recording. No. Grr. I can't change my camera? What? Nah, bro. Is there an on button on here? No. There's not an on button or anything. Bell. We're running away, easy. It's not leaving this home. Stream quality. Boom, boom, boom. Oh no, bro. This camera's not it. Yeah, y'all may not be able to see it, but I can. It's pixelated, bro. I look like a Minecraft character, bro. Yeah. I'm stuck. Let up, brother. Ow. Let up, brother. Ow. My camera. Oh, I just ruined it. I was just trying to test to see if the camera was good. Oh. I ruined it. Running over. It's easy. It's still leaving this, huh? Okay, there we go. I got my camera back. Okay, let's go turn the light off, bro. Alright, fine, bro. I got my camera back. Let's go. Alright, let's set this. Let's set it back up. My carpet's all messed up, bro. After this stream, I'm gonna turn my table this way so that never mind. I bet. Let's go. Are we on? Alright, we're on. Let's go. Okay, let's get back to it.
About any of this, so I kept staring at him with a very surprised look. Hiroshi went on saying that local people believe the forest to be a haunted place. In fact, many people have claimed to see ghosts inside that forest. I asked, "How far is the forest?" He replied, "Not much. It's half an hour hike from our house. We have nothing to do anyway. Also, going out and spending time in the wild will help us to refresh our mind." So I said, "Hey, let's go and visit this place. Anyways, we're getting bored by sitting home." Hiroshi said in a worried voice, "I don't know. I have to ask my parents first. There are many scary stories about this place." As the sun started to set, we decided to head back home. In the evening, we were sitting in the living room. Hiroshi looked to his parents and mentioned the hiking trip to the Suicide Forest. Though they denied at first, after our repeated requests, his father finally gave us permission. But he told us to leave the place before dark. I agreed because I anyway had no intention of staying inside a dark forest that has numerous reported cases of suicides. The next morning, Hiroshi and I packed our bags and started our journey. I was in a relaxed mood that finally, after 2 weeks, we were stepping outside this village. We were almost near the last house in the village. The mountain road went ahead from its left. 30 minutes walk on that road will lead us to Aokigahara. At the doorstep of the last house, we saw an old man sitting on a wooden chair. We were about to walk past him when he stood up and grabbed my hand.
Tired of typing tons of notes during class? There's finally a better way. It's called Otter. Let's say I'm in class. I just hit record and
I got a bit startled and said, "Hey, are you okay?" His eyes were gloomy as if he was daydreaming. The wrinkles on his face denoted how extremely old he is. Hiroshi said in a shaken voice, "What is it, Pa?" The man didn't look at him. Instead, he just stared at me and then said in a feeble voice, "Kizuku, Kuchisaki onna. Kizuku, Kuchisaki onna." It goes without
Did I hear that correctly?
saying that. I didn't understand his words at all, but Hiroshi's terrified face without saying "Yona," and then said in a feeble voice, "Kizuku, Kuchisaki onna."
Can you say that one more time?
Said in a feeble voice, "Kizuku, Kuchisaki onna."
Am I the only one that's hearing this?
Kizuku, Kuchisaki onna.
Where are they coming
It goes without saying that I didn't understand his words at all, but Hiroshi's terrified face told me that this old man is saying something scary. I was getting freaked out with his behavior. I freed my hand from his grip and stepped away from him. Hiroshi said in a shaken voice,
Bro. He's trying to tell you something.
We should get going. Come on, Jack." With mixed feelings, I started to walk with Hiroshi. The house was going away from our sight, but the old man kept standing there while muttering the same words. I turned back to my friend and asked, "What was he saying? Who is that guy?" Hiroshi took a pause and said, "He is the oldest man in our village. We address him as Pa. People say he has the ability to see the future and predict bad times." I said with surprised eyes, "What did he say in Japanese?" Hiroshi took a pause and said, "His words translate, 'Beware of Kuchisaki onna.'" I obviously had no idea what this term Kuchisaki onna meant, so I kept staring at Hiroshi with curious eyes. Hiroshi said, "In Japanese folklore, we have an urban legend named Kuchisaki onna,
What's up with
the slit-mouthed woman. According to legend, Kuchisaki onna was the unfaithful wife or concubine of a samurai. As punishment for her infidelity, her husband sliced the corners of her mouth from ear to ear. Other versions of the tale include that her mouth was mutilated during a medical or dental procedure, that she was mutilated by a woman who was jealous of her beauty, or that her mouth is filled with numerous sharp teeth. After her death, the woman returned as a vengeful spirit. She covers her mouth with a cloth mask, or in some iterations, a hand fan or handkerchief. She also carries a sharp instrument with her, which has been described as a knife, machete, or a large pair of scissors. Kuchisaki onna sneaks up on her victims in the dark and asks them if they think she is beautiful. If the victim answers yes, she pulls off her mask and reveals a red, blood-dripping, grotesque mouth. Then she asks in a grisly voice if they still think she is beautiful, adding, "Even now." If her victim answers no or screams in terror, she slashes them from ear to ear in an imitation of her own mutilation. If they lie and answer yes a second time, she walks away, only to follow her target home and slaughter him brutally that night. I won't lie, but this horrible story actually gave me goosebumps.
So
I noticed we have reached the forest. Hiroshi said,
Okay.
"Let's go. We have an hour before dawn. We must stick together or else we can get lost." I have never seen such a silent forest. I mean, every place has its own kind of sound, but this forest made me feel like I have to step into a completely different world where no living creature is allowed to enter. Suddenly, a question came to mind. I asked Hiroshi, "But why did your pa say that we have to be aware of this slit-mouthed woman? This is just a scary story, right?" Hiroshi looked around the dark forest and replied, "I don't know why Pa reacted this way." I noticed tension on his face, as if he is not telling me something. We walked around the forest for a few more minutes and then decided to take a break before leaving for home. We sat on a big rock under a nearby tree. I drank water from the flask and said, "So, how can someone save themselves from this urban legend of yours?" Hiroshi smiled and said, "Are you scared, Jack?" I replied awkwardly, "No way. I'm just asking you to complete the story, that's all." Hiroshi lit up a cigarette and said, "An individual can survive an encounter with Kuchisaki Onna by using one of several methods. In some versions of the legend, Kuchisaki Onna will leave the potential victim alone if they answer yes to both of her questions. Though in other versions, she will visit the individual's residence later that night and murder the person while sleeping. Other survival tactics include replying to Kuchisaki Onna's question by describing her appearance as average, giving the individual enough time to run away. As soon as Hiroshi finished his last sentence, something unexpected happened. We were sitting facing a bush nearby. Beside that bush, the forest was even denser. Suddenly, I saw the bush moving. A rustling sound of leaves took place. We both sat silently, staring at the bush. I looked at Hiroshi and saw his freaked out face. The cigarette in his hand has dropped on the ground. I asked in a fearful voice, Who is that?" Just when we noticed something, and all the blood in our veins turned cold. As the bushes moved, a head started to appear behind that. A woman slowly stood up from those bushes. Her eyes looked lifeless, and the strange thing was, her mask. For a moment, I thought, a pandemic is going around. Maybe that's why she is wearing a mask. But then she came to us and asked, "Am I beautiful?" My head started to throb in fear. I don't know what to say. Hiroshi grabbed my hand and said, "Run!" We started to run without seeing where we were going. Chilling laughter came out of that woman's mouth. As I turned back, I saw her. Yes, I saw her. It was her. Her mouth was slashed from ear to ear. Sharp teeth made her laughing terrifying. Somehow, we managed to come out of the forest, and finally, we reached the village, where we were out of breath. We sat on the village ground and started to gasp for air. A few local people came and took us home, thinking we were feeling sick. The next morning, I woke up with a high fever. Hiroshi was sick to his stomach for 3 days. I still don't know if what we saw was real or our imagination. Later, we asked Hiroshi's pa, and he said the suicide forest is filled with many yurei, that is, ruined or departed spirits. And that was indeed some malevolent spirit who tried to frighten us by taking the shape of this Japanese legend, Kuchisaki Onna.
Bro.
We never went back to that forest as long as I stayed with them. But what do you think? Did we really see Kuchisaki Onna in the suicide forest? Or was it something else?
Last week, I broke up with my boyfriend, whom I dated for 3 years. Even though we weren't separated, I remained in touch with him as a friend. He's a nice guy, but I just felt it wasn't working between us anymore. My best friend, Tina, suggested me to start casual dating again. She said it will help to get over this breakup. To be honest, last 3 years I hardly went out with new people or socialized that bit. Speaking about casual dating, no app is appropriate than Tinder. At least that's what I used to believe. One evening after coming home from work, I sat down on my bed and registered on Tinder. After going through some guy's profile, I got bored for not finding a good match and eventually dozed off. The next day, I went back to work when my friend Tina called me. Tina said, "Jill, you know what happened this morning? Tom called me and asked me how you were doing. I kind of told him that you were back to Tinder again, to kind of give him the idea that you have moved on. I hope that wasn't too much from my side, right?" Tina has always been like this, taking things on her own hand all the time. I expected something like this already, so I replied with an upset face, "Yeah, I will handle it. Bye," and disconnected the phone. I called Tom that night and apologized on Tina's behalf. Tom has always been nice to me. He said in a mature tone, "It's okay, Jill. I got your signal. I wish you the best. But whenever you need, don't hesitate to contact me. Take care." I felt bad for him, but his sense of understanding made me admire him too. Few days passed, and I went on with my life. I started going out with my friends, and sometimes with their mutual friends, for a drink or movies. One Sunday afternoon, I was chilling in my room when I received a request from a guy on Tinder. I opened his profile and started to check out his pictures. The guy wasn't that handsome, but he had a friendly face. I accepted his request, and we started chatting on Tinder.
Not every face
His name was Mark.
friendly.
He said he works in a department store close to my location.
G7 department.
We kind of hit it off. It seemed we had quite similar tastes in music and food. Mark asked me out for a lunch date. We decided to meet the next day at a local restaurant. I reached the restaurant 5 minutes late and noticed Mark sitting at a corner table smiling at me. He seemed attractive in real life. He had a good height and charming nature. His flirtatious nature was a bit edgy for a first date, but somehow I enjoyed his fresh attention after a long time. The date went well, and we decided to meet again sometime. Mark started texting me regularly.
Where's her toes at? She got her big toe and there's just one cluster. Okay.
And I too kept responding. One day, we were talking over the phone, as usual, when Mark asked me, "So, are you in a relationship right now?" I replied in an awkward tone, "Well, if I was, I wouldn't be talking to you all this time," and laughed a bit to loosen up the conversation. Mark didn't respond to my joking tone and said, "Love has become a joke these days, you know. You can hardly trust people." I realized he might have been through a really bad breakup, but I chose to stay out of his personal affairs. With more days passing, Mark always tried to slip into our conversations and how heartbreak is the worst thing to do to anyone. I felt bad for him, but we kind of came a bit close. One day, Mark asked me to go on a dinner date with him. He came to pick me up from my house. As I got into his car, I could smell booze on him. He didn't look drunk, but he told me he went for a few drinks earlier. It didn't worry me because he was on his best behavior so far. He was driving carefully too. Around 9 p.m., we reached the restaurant. We sat down and ordered the food. Mark said while smirking at me, "Hope you won't mind if I order some drinks." I actually didn't mind because it was good to see him having fun. Not a single time he talked about relationship issues. Instead, he was very much flirting with me. I was blushing with his compliments. He drank 4 pegs of whiskey in just half an hour. Finally, I got a little bit worried and said, "You have to drive also, don't forget that." Mark looked at me, his eyes got stuck at mine. The way he stared suddenly creeped me out. Then he said, "Jill, I really like you. I would like to take you home after dinner." It has been quite a while I am going out with him, so I kind of wanted to get close to him, but seeing him getting so drunk, I wasn't feeling that sure. I fumbled and said, "How far is your place?" He replied, "Not that far. Come on, let's go." I couldn't say no to him, even though his sudden behavior change seemed unusual to me. He got into his car and started the engine. The roads were empty. He started to speed up the car. I got scared and said, "Mark."
I saved hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Liberty, 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 liberty.
Navigating past adverts on your favorite websites is a daily annoyance for millions of internet.
"Please drive slowly. You're scaring me." He looked at me and then started to chuckle, as if I said something very stupid. After leaving the town, we got onto a dusty road. I said, "I didn't know you live in the outskirts. How far now?" Mark replied in a low but firm voice, "Almost near." We reached in front of a wooden house after 10 minutes. The house appeared quite old and out of maintenance to me. The entire house was in darkness. We got down from the car, and Mark said in a mocking voice, "Welcome to Lion's Den," and started to chuckle in the same manner. I thought it was all because of the alcohol in his stomach. As we got inside, Mark switched on the light. The house was really old. I could see a layer of dust on the couch and furniture in the living room. He took me upstairs. There was a bedroom and bathroom upstairs. The bedroom also appeared unclean and smelly. It felt like no one had cleaned the room for a while. Mark told me to sit on the bed and went to the kitchen. I waited for a few seconds when suddenly I saw something shining under the pillow. As I lifted the pillow, my heart sunk in horror. There was a sharp knife under it. I immediately got up and tiptoed to the kitchen. As I peeked inside, I saw Mark mixing something into a glass of wine. Is this guy planning to drug me and then slit my throat? Oh God, I made a huge mistake. I was out of the idea. There was no way I could get out of this house because Mark locked the door using his house key. It felt strange for me then, but I didn't care about it earlier. God, how stupid am I said to myself. Mark lifted 2 glasses on his hand and started walking towards the bedroom. I already came to the bedroom before he could realize that I had understood his vicious plan. He got inside and looked at me with his wide eyes and smiled. His face was looking all evil. He then said in a spine-chilling, cold voice, "Here's your drink, Jill. Enjoy." I knew there's no way I can fight this guy and get out of this house alive. So a plan came to mind. I said, thanks. Hey, can I use your bathroom for a sec?" Mark replied, "Of course, but don't make me wait too long," and smirked at me. I got up and went to the bathroom. As soon as I locked the bathroom door, I dialed my ex-boyfriend, Tom. He picked up the phone and said, "What a surprise, Jill. So what's..." But before he could finish, I replied in a broken but low voice, "Please help me. This guy's trying to kill me. I need your help, Tom," and started whimpering. Tom replied in a panicked voice, "Oh shit, where are you? Share me your location." I shared with him my live location, and Tom said, "Listen, Jill, just hold on for some time. I am coming there as fast as possible." I stood inside the bathroom like a statue. I was completely freaked out and paranoid. Suddenly, a knock appeared on the bathroom door. I heard Mark's voice.
"Ooh, that
Jill,
knock scared me,
did you
bro.
take something that is mine?" Mark said.
Don't do that.
My hands turned cold. Oh my God, this guy now knows. He hasn't figured out that I've taken his knife with me. Mark started to bang on the door. "Come on out, doll. I have planned a romantic night for us. Don't make me force you." The bathroom door was made of half glass and half wood. Hence, I could see Mark's figure leaning on the glass. He almost stuck his entire face on the glass and said, "Jill, don't make me force you. Come out and give me my knife back." I started screaming and crying. "Please let me go." But what Mark did next shook me from the inside. He started banging on the glass with his head. Cracks started to appear on it, and blood splattered on the glass too. He was hitting the glass like a maniac, with his head screaming, "Open, open now." Suddenly, I saw Tom calling me. I picked up the call, and Tom said, "I'm here. Where are you?" I was in no position to explain further. I rushed to the bathroom window, and luckily it was open. Without giving it a second thought, I jumped. I hurt my ankle, but I saw Tom standing in his car on the road. I sprinted to him and got inside his car. I screamed with the top of my lungs, "Drive, Tom, drive now." He drove the car away, and that night I took sleeping pills to sleep. Tom stayed back with me. It's been a few days since this incident. Last night, we sorted things out and are back together again. I can't trust any unknown guy anymore. Tom is taking a shower right now in my bathroom. But suddenly a text has come to his phone. Reply from an unknown number. The text reads, "Got the payment, thanks." It is a reply to a text that Tom sent to this number. Tom has texted this number last night. "Got her back. Thanks for all the help. Sent you the money."
Cooked.
A few years ago, I did something terrible. Sometimes I really wish I didn't. Something I can never take back, honestly. It all started when my girlfriend, well, ex-girlfriend, broke up with me. I know this might seem trivial and just a part of life as growing up as a person. However, unfortunately for me, it had a complete reverse effect. I know all you think I'm childish and I just needed to take it on the chin and deal with it. You might be right, but I didn't. I helped her with everything within her life. I wasn't going to allow that to happen unpunished. I know it was petty and it was wrong, but you have to understand I was desperate. I was hurting. It honestly felt as though my heart was aching. It was throbbing so hard I honestly thought at any point I would explode. I know that sounds dramatic and I'm honestly not looking for sympathy. I'm not the victim here. Well, not anymore. I made sure of that. I honestly could feel my body shaking with rage, so I got up with hatred and darkness in my heart, and I booted up my laptop. I wasn't a stranger to the dark web. I've spent countless hours.
Oh my god, dang it, bro.
Hey, come on. I remember thinking at the time, they've only asked me to come in. As of right now, I'm not under arrest or anything, so I better see what they want. But what they asked me completely and utterly knocked the wind out of me. When was the last time you saw Katie? I was speechless for a second.
You're scared.
I must
You're
have looked
scared.
like the
You're
most
scared.
guilty and
You're scared.
suspicious
You're
person in the world.
scared. You're scared.
Realizing this, I
You're
quickly
scared.
shook the look of surprise and dread off my face.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my
and
god, bro.
answered
You're
as
shaking his
calmly
boots,
as
bro.
I
You can
could
tell by just
muster.
looking at it, bro.
Not since we broke up, around 2 weeks ago. This was true, but it didn't save me from the barrage of intense scrutiny and questioning. Where were you in light of? I told them the truth at home. Can anyone verify this? I said, no. I live alone, but I get dropped off at home after work by one of my colleagues, which is routine after every shift, so I can, I guess.
Off topic, but who here plays a piano and can read this? Yeah, this is the easy version. This is the easy one. This is the easy one. I'd say this is easy. Yeah, because it's literally the easy version. It says it right there. For Elise, easy. Here, I'm gonna let you get it like a good screenshot of this. Yep. If you play piano, if you play anything, bro. If you play anything, try to play it, bro. Get another screenshot in. Everybody knows for Elise. That was off topic. Let's get back to the video.
And what time was this? I told him the truth around 10:30, and the cameras at work would show me leaving at around 10:20, and it's only about a 10-minute drive here. Did you leave your property at any other point after you returned? No. I told the cops that there's a camera by the apartment's entrance that will show I'm telling the truth.
So much cap.
And concentration into my eyes seemed to waver and loosen slightly. So I thought I'd push my luck and ask what this was all about. He stated that although he can't give me details on an ongoing investigation, Katie had been reported missing. She was last seen by her mother leaving their home.
Off topic again, but I'm so mad that my freaking Elden Ring crashed on me. And we had to get on YouTube, bro. I was really trying to play some Elden Ring, bro. It would not start back up. So after this stream, I might not sleep I might not do the sleep stream tonight, bro. I'm gonna try to get the Elden Ring back up, and we're gonna play it tomorrow morning or in the afternoon or night. I'm more of a night gamer guy because nighttime's just the right time. Nighttime. I'm up at the right time. But anyway, let's get back to it, bro.
To shop and
We have
browse the stores,
officially
but never
reached
returned.
an hour.
The police officers left soon after
Let's
that.
go.
And I actually think,
Yo, what's wrong with his back? Fix your back. Fix your posture, bruh. Fix the posture. You guys see that? Look at that. That's just shoulders. Hold on. His shoulders aren't even connected to his body. That's his back right there. Bulky shoulders, bruh. Shoulder pads, shoulders. You see it? You see this cop's back? Nice postured up. Yours is all crumbled up, bro. Like chiropractor.
They did check the
right
CCTV and with my boss and colleague who confirmed my story and that I was telling the truth.
Confirm the story.
Days turned into weeks and still nothing. It seemed as though she just had vanished into thin air. I couldn't believe it. It couldn't have been because of me. I thought maybe it's possibly some creep stalked her socials and found her address after I posted them along with the images, but surely it had to be a coincidence. That stupid forum couldn't be real.
Oh my god,
It said
bro.
Santa's naughty list. That definitely couldn't be real. The longer it went on, the more horrible I felt. I know I wasn't physically responsible, but in one way or another, I had caused this, or at least put the wheels in motion. I felt just as guilty as if.
Oh.
I have.
Oh crap! Hold on. I remember which one it was. It wasn't Lions Den. You were right here at the truth.
I couldn't go to the police, but how could I?
I'll be right back. Chat. Hold up. Be right back. Be right back. Ooh. Alright. Alright, boys. I'm back and I got some snacks.
If I confess, my life was as good as over. As selfish as it was, I just didn't believe it would even help to find her if I did. Maybe I was just being a coward, but it was hopeless. She was gone. I waited every morning for an update. I would always call the police station to get an update. It was torture until one day. They did find her. But as I'm sure you all can already tell, this story doesn't have a happy ending. But she was eventually found in an old abandoned factory in the outskirts of the next town over. I just couldn't believe it. I could feel my throat tighten to the point I was struggling to breathe when I heard the news. In my head, I was begging and pleading with whoever or whatever. It must be some kind of mistake, a mix-up. It couldn't be because of me. But unfortunately, it was no mix-up. She was found stuffed in a chimney. Her body was inside a sack, a toy sack. I couldn't believe it. I felt sick. This must be some kind of sick joke. I kept trying and failing to convince myself. I felt my body tremble. She had been there for a while, and you could tell by looking at her. They knew it was her because stuffed into her eye socket was a small piece of paper that read, "Naughty list. Katie, you should have been good." I blacked out, and I collapsed where I was standing, and I hit my head pretty hard. When I regained consciousness, I hoped, I prayed it was just a bad dream. But of course it wasn't. It was real. It was all real. I'm a simp. Nothing will ever make up for the torture I subjected a girl I once loved and cherished. All because my own ego and misguided sense of pride and self-worth. I wish I could take it all back. You deserve justice, Katie. You deserve to be able to rest in peace at the very least. Maybe confessing will bring you and your family closure. Maybe ending my own life will make us even. But regardless of the answer, I'm far too much of a coward for either. I won't go on the dark web again, just because of this situation.
That was crazy story.
Alma saw the clock. 3 a.m. it was. She peeped from her blanket to catch a view of her room. Even though the room heater was on, the air inside the house was ice cold. The pale moonlight made the room look even darker. Alma opened the door and stepped into the corridor. The kitchen is downstairs. She started walking carefully because it was too dark to see. Her hands were searching in the air for the wooden railings of the staircase. Suddenly, she heard a cry. Her face turned pale as if there's no blood left in her body. She stood there in the dark, frozen. Yes, she has heard this before. When Alma was little, she lived in a wooden house with her family. Her mom used to tell her a bedtime story which changed her life. Mom said, "Once upon a time, there lived a woman in a small village. She had gray hair and a sad face. Whenever she cried, someone started to die in that village. Village people believed she was cursed, so they banished her from that village. The woman started to wander in the woods all by herself in the dark. The woods scared her, and she cried. Whenever she cried, a creature nearby her died. Some people say her name is Banshee, and her spirit still roams around at night. Whoever hears her crying finds someone close to them dead the next day." Lying on her bed at night, Alma often thought that if this is true, if Banshee is real, and somehow she ended up falling asleep, until one night she actually heard Banshee crying in their own house. 3 a.m. That night she rose from her bed, left the woolen blanket on the floor, and went to get water. That was the third time she heard that weeping, as if someone was in real pain but can't do anything without weeping. She thought it was her little cat, but found it sleeping on the doormat. With a juggled feeling of curiosity and fear, she searched the entire floor. The weeping stayed for some time, and then it stopped. And then there was dead silence. Alma went to the kitchen, had her a glass of water. Just when she thought to go back, she saw her. She was sitting under the stairs and weeping. Alma isn't scared of the weeping anymore. The only thing that disturbs Alma is that when the woman cries, her eyes never blink. The woman stares back at Alma and cries, but never blinks. Like every other night, Alma ignored her and went to her room. The next morning, Waking up, she heard chaos, suggesting something serious, something bad has occurred in their house. She walked through the corridor, following the sound coming from her brother's room. She entered and saw her mother was crying out loud near her brother's bed. She walked close to the bed. Brother was lying eyes closed, facing the ceiling of the wall. It seemed to her a very unusual way of sleeping, but father told her, "Do not disturb him, dear. Let him sleep peacefully." Drops of sweat appeared on her forehead because Alma finally remembered. Today is that day. That day. On this day, 10 years back, Alma broke into tears as she started to remember. Her room was on the upper floor, beside her brother's. Mother and father used to sleep downstairs in Grandma's room. She was a newborn, and her brother hasn't been born yet when her grandmother died. Only in pictures she has seen her, inheriting an affectionate smile, grabbing the white pet rabbit in her lap. Today is that day, but in these 10 years, Alma never heard that cry again. Everyone is gone now. Her brother, mother, father stays alone in the house. She couldn't stop her tears, thinking it was her fault. It was her fault that she didn't wake her parents up to tell them about that woman. Suddenly, she heard footsteps coming from her room. Is she coming for her now? Alma rushed to the stairs in that dark and tried to hide under the wooden steps. She tried not to make any sound, but the footsteps were close. Someone was coming down the stairs. Alma closed her eyes in fear and the footsteps stopped. She slowly opened her eyes. She was panting, whimpering. Who knows what will she see? Her eyes were wide open. She couldn't blink, couldn't move. It was a white-haired old woman with a sad face, standing in the kitchen, looking right at her. Alma's world went upside down. She lives alone. The doors are locked. How did this woman get inside? The woman with the sad face pointed at her. Alma knew what she meant. The ground beneath her feet slid away. The woman knows Alma's secret. 10 years back, Alma choked her little brother in his sleep with his pillow. Mom and Dad never loved Alma the same way after her brother was born. They often bought him more toys than her. Even if their brother broke her dolls or destroyed her clothes, Mom never scolded him. She was ignored and forgotten after they got a son. She remembered how she consoled herself all these years that her brother was ready to go. That brother wanted to, needed to. We all need that eternal sleep. It is a relief, a rescue from the sin committed by self. How many times we have wished for a chance to rebuild or reconstruct something that has already taken place. But what is left is just a memory, either good or bad. Our life bestows upon us a rainfall of incidents. Some make us, some break us, and some of them leave us in the perplexity of reality. Alma's mother couldn't take the shock of how a little boy died in his sleep. How can his heart just stop? It broke her parents, but not her, because she was happy. She was happy claiming all their toys only for her. She was happy, unlawfully, contempt though, but happy as her right remained undivided. But now, Banshee has come for her. It is her time to go now. Alma stood up and spoke in a broken voice. I didn't want to kill him. I was just a child. Banshee started to walk towards her by taking slow footsteps. Her finger was still pointed at Alma. Alma went on with her nervous utterance. Please, let me go. I was just a child. I thought if I pushed the pillow hard, he will be quiet and sleep for a few days. But I never knew he will never wake up. Please let me go. It has been 10 years now. Why do you have to torment me like this every year on this day? Why can't you just leave me alone? But Banshee kept walking towards her. She reached extremely close to Alma. Alma could see her clouded eyes full of pain. Banshee then opened her dark mouth and started to scream. Alma got terrified by the scene and she fainted on the ground. The next morning when she woke up, she found herself lying on the hospital bed. She couldn't tell was it a dream or reality. Her next door neighbor came to visit her this morning, but when she didn't open her door, her neighbor, Miss Sherman, called the cops and they admitted her into the hospital. Miss Sherman was standing in the hospital when the doctor came to her and asked her, "Does she always suffer such panic attacks?" Miss Sherman said in a sad voice, "Not always, but every month of January on this very day, She often screams and reacts completely different. Once I stayed with her as she told me she was having nightmares about some white-haired woman. I don't know why she kept telling in her sleep that she didn't kill her brother. The doctor replied with a surprised face. What happened to her brother? Miss Sherman replied, don't ask. Alma has been through a lot. It seems like her family has a history of heart condition. She was little when her brother died of a heart attack. Then her mom and dad died the same way at their old age. Please, look at her, doctor. She needs help. The doctor nodded his head and said he will do his best. Alma got sent to a mental institution for better care. She now just sits near a window, hardly speaks. She sometimes looks at her hands and thinks about how she put 3 lives out of their misery. But she doesn't know why she is still alive. Did Banshee leave her to suffer till eternity?
Those were some good stories. Those were some good stories. I'm gonna put you back, bro. Some good stories. I really enjoyed those. Well, this was a good stream. I will be back with y'all tomorrow morning. We're gonna go for another hour. I'm sorry that the Elden Ring did not work. I'm gonna get that fixed. It will be working by tomorrow. Bro, them Doritos be hitting. Sorry, hold on. Let me get my apple juice. Apple juice smacking. But anyway, yeah, the Elden Ring, the Elden Ring is gonna work tomorrow, and we're gonna get farther and farther into this story. Okay. Thanks for joining in with me tonight. To that one viewer, really makes me happy to see somebody watching me. But yeah, it's been a good stream. See you in the morning.